Yeah, I would like to,
There.
I would like to understand how you did fall into that rabbit hole, so to
Okay,
speak.
I'll
Just a little
I'll
bit of
tell you
backstory.
why. Yeah, I think I told I'm not sure if anybody on the network has heard the story of how Rob fell down the MLM, the multi-level marketing network rabbit hole. And it happened like this. So about a year ago, I started watching a lot of YouTube. And I was watching a lot of videos in the skeptic space. So skepticism is a philosophical worldview that has interested me for a very long time. And every once in a while, I dip my toe in it. Now, there's one skeptic in particular who's a guy named Drew who has the best YouTube channel name I've ever seen. It's called The Genetically Modified Skeptic. And I was watching Drew's videos, and every once in a while, his wife would be on. And forgive me, she's kind of cute. So I watched some of her stuff.
Okay.
And his wife, whose name is Taylor, had her own channel called The Antibot. And what Taylor was talking about was anti-MLM content. And I listened to it. I thought, okay, pretty good production values. You know, wasn't all that interested. But then, you know, I'm going to sound like Kevin Nealon's shtick here. And I got interested, and I got really interested. Then I got really, really interested. And you know, so what happened to me, what was sort of the red pill moment. I'm really torturing this metaphor, and I hate myself for doing it. But I became aware of what I would consider sort of a parallel universe that exists alongside ours, but we are aware of it, or perhaps not aware of it. It is the case that something like 1 in 6 American households contains an individual who has been a distributor, which I use generically, for a multi-level market company. Okay. I was one such individual. I didn't even know what this was. This was at I'll tell this story now too. I'm sorry, Jared, you're my guest technically, but I'll tell you this story. This was a woman with whom I had I know there are some children listening to this, a romantic entanglement.
You discussed this in the series already.
I did. Okay, right.
Yeah.
And that's how I ended up in this thing briefly.
Right.
So you know, I like to also tell that story because, you know, it's honest. It doesn't make me look very good. But be that as it may, and then as I started watching content from the so-called anti-MLM movement, I became aware of the depth and breadth of this. And this is the concern, and this is the reason why, and there's another feature that I'm going to tell in a second. And the reason why I'm concerned about highlighting this for the network is because so many of us have skills, knowledge, and experience that are being put to use to increase the net value of the gross domestic product, if you want to talk about it in those terms, but value to the world. And that participation in multi-level marketing companies has a risk. And I haven't, and this again is just a fear rather than something that I can substantiate, of sucking some of the energy, in fact, some of the money, certainly some of the time, energy, skills, knowledge, and experience away from that effort. And so, you know, there are you and various others on the network are entrepreneurs who are actively, you know, doing some really cool stuff. I think the stuff that you're doing is outstanding.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
And no, I mean that. I'm not just blowing smoke at you because we're having this conversation. I feel that, and I hope that, you know, that this can occupy even more of your skills, knowledge, and experience. Now, so having said all of that, there are 2 great counter arguments for the things that I said. You could say, Rob, you're wasting your time, energy, skills, knowledge, and experience investigating and talking about this stuff.
Well, hold on a second.
You can say,
Yeah. Hold on a second, Rob. I guess, I think it would be good for the audience that we set the context of the discussion before we dive into the arguments and counter arguments.
Thank you. Thank you for,
Would that be okay?
absolutely. Thank you for shutting
Okay.
me off. I can't shut up. Go ahead.
Oh, it's not that. So from my perspective, well, Rob and I have had a pretty lengthy message thread in the Nomad Network messaging app. And I went and viewed a large majority of Rob's MLM series because I was curious about Rob's doing. I think you're doing some really good work. And no, I don't think you're wasting your efforts, time, or energy diving in to get to the root of this topic, right? There's many different multi-level marketing schemes and or pyramid schemes that have, really put people in a bad way because they didn't know, and they were grasping for straws coming from a position of weakness, whether that was financial or health or whatever else. They were exploited in order to distribute for a company. I think that is wrong too. Now, before we get too far into it, from my perspective, there's two different discussion topics here. One is the products that a company is producing and or selling. The other is the business side or the financial opportunity. Today, Rob and I have agreed that we are only going to discuss the financial aspect of it, and then we may come back to the product discussion later. The assumption on today's call is that the products from, I hate to say it, these companies, but the product is superior as the going in assumption for today's discussion about the finances. Is that agreed?
I agree. We
Okay.
can stipulate that the products are everything that the distributors claim and more.
Yeah, and that's above and beyond, right? My argument is it is very comparable, both price wise, but as good, if not better, than quality wise.
Okay.
Right. So that's the context I'm coming from as we enter into the financial opportunity discussion that some of these companies offer. Make sense?
Absolutely.
All right, cool. All right. I'm ready. How would you like to
so
dive into this?
you asked some compelling questions in our thread, and
I'm happy if you want to share this too. Nothing I said in there is meant to be hidden. So if you want to share it with the audience, I'm fine with that too, Rob. If you're okay with what you,
I'm okay. Let's see. Let me first see if I can do this. So this is what we're going to see here. I hope is the.
I see it fine.
So a lot of these questions can't be answered specifically because with few exceptions, multi-level marketing companies are private companies. There's one public one that I know of, which is Herbalife. If Melaleuca is public, forgive me, I didn't know that. So
it is not. It is a private company.
I'm not sure that we can answer questions like what are the debt positions and how big is the customer base. Having said that, you can get it. This is really the key question. What percentage of the customer base are distributors? Now,
Agreed.
I will also stipulate that everything that Melaleuca says about its sales is true. If that is in fact the case, they are unique in that they are the only MLM that I've looked at. Let me just say that. Let me retract and rephrase. They are the only MLM that I've looked at, which adheres to what's referred to as the Amway rule. The Amway rule is actually the Amway rules. In 1979, in the matter of Amway, which was a administrative law decision. It was not a trial. There are administrative law judges who adjudicate matters that don't rise to the level of criminality or outright violation of federal law. And they set down a number of rules that should be adhered to by multi-level marketing companies. And one of them was that 70% of sales should be to individuals who are not distributors from the company. And to my knowledge, Melaleuca is the only one that I've seen that actually does that, which is to say that the others do not. Now,
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I was clear about that part. And there's some rattling too in the background. I don't think it's coming from this side, but just for the audience.
So I'm using a bad mic.
Okay.
It's coming. It's from my laptop, and I'm shifting around in my chair. So
Okay.
I'm gonna also try to stop moving.
Yeah. So Melaleuca's customer base, as of today, that are only customers is 81%. And that's actually down from 89% in the last few years, right? Which means they've got active marketing folks that are both customers as well, the 19%.
So they might in fact be unique.
Market.
They could be unique in that they've managed to not just stay in business, but to thrive and survive.
Correct.
Actually selling retail product.
That's going on the assumption that they're telling the truth.
Right. I don't have any
are.
reason not to,
Neither
to disbelieve that,
Okay.
that proposition.
Okay. Good to know about that rule, though. I didn't know about that.
So there are a couple other there are a couple other features of the rule which virtually all MLMs are very good about. In other words, there has to be a reasonable product return policy. And a couple others that
so Melaleuca offers 100% money back guarantee for any product you do not
right, which I think is just like a lot of other companies is basically,
and that's good for 100 for 90 days money back or 120 days for product credit.
I agree, and I think generous. I think that says it should be. What's a feature that I'm not sure I'm going to just speculate about this, and this gets into the structure, but I want to get through these and I want to just mention it quickly, and then we can come back to it later.
Okay.
Is that a lot of many of these companies are structured such that if there were no retail, they could still make money. We may never know what the distribution is, and it's very distribution of retail versus customer or retail customer sales are, because this stuff is internal and it's very difficult to establish. However, based on income, on some of the income disclosure statements that are out there, you can actually do some math and figure out how you can make how these companies can at least make a great deal of revenue. I don't know what their costs are without selling retail. Anyway, when you
say structured, if there was no retail, they could still make money. I did not understand.
Correct. So because of pay to play, because in order to maintain your status as an active distributor in virtually all multi-level marketing companies, you need to be purchasing the product.
Yeah, they need a consistent revenue stream where demand is constant.
Right. So
and that's from my perspective, from the business side, that is for them to be able to capture economies of scale and make the economics work from their suppliers.
I agree, and I think that. This goes back to, there's often a straw man argument that's made about MLMs, which is that they don't work. This is nonsense. They work very well. They work. These companies make a ton of money. That's not an issue. And this sort of relates to the next issue here about advertising departments. They may or they may not.
Before we move into the advertising aspect of it, can we hold on 1 second? Because this is why, this right here is kind of why I wanted to focus in on the products first before moving on to the business, where we've already assumed the product lines, right? So earlier you were talking about some of these skeptic space philosophical worldview, right? And the anti-MLM topics that some people talked about. What about from this perspective, right? What's the alternative today?
You mean the alternative to selling things in an MLM model?
No. We're talking about the alternative to buying products from a so-called MLM company.
Oh yeah, that's the question that I thought you meant, is to buy them retail from
a big box conglomerate, or
from or on Amazon, which is
a third party,
which is the way that I buy
distributor, right?
Everything.
So we won't get too far down this rabbit hole, but again, it comes back to a philosophical worldview, right? And I like to use the example of razors from the likes of Dollar Shave Club. Okay, I was using Dollar Shave Club razors for years until they went public. I've continued to use them, but I noticed a change in the quality of the razor after they went public.
I did not know that. No,
I
don't know.
So why do you think that is? What's a corporation bound by law to do?
Right. Obey the law and make money.
No. Not only obey the law and make money, but maximize profits to its shareholders.
Well, I think the shareholders insist on that. Yeah.
They do. By law, they have the right to.
Right.
You see?
Mhm.
So you can see as when a public goes from a private company who's truly focused on taking care of its customer base, right? While also making a profit, which there's nothing wrong with. As soon as it goes public, things change. Decrease cost, maximize value. And then, oh, by the way, in today's corporate environment, over the last 15 to 20 years, it's been focused on next quarter's earnings. So from my worldview, when I look at the two options on who I want to purchase from, and seeing what has happened with the state of the debt loads and the golden parachutes that these corporate executives seem to go after, I decided I wanted to do business elsewhere, right? And the only other place that I found to go really is that so-called MLM world, right? Because I believe that the products are superior based on personal experience for a year now. So that kind of sets the context between comparing, well, if not MLM, then what? Well,
I'm still stuck on I'm still stuck on razors since
okay.
Where'd you go to? I mean, what'd you switch? What brand did you switch to?
So I tried Harry's, which I didn't like either.
Really?
And then just yesterday, I actually bought a $65 razor and 100 blades for $10 from a company called, oh man, what is it? I'll have to look it up and get back to you. I set it down.
Okay.
Or Carter's. I think it's Carter's, maybe out of Canada. Anyways, yeah, I spent $100 for a razor and 100 blades. For, you know, because I got a good referral that, yeah, it's an awesome razor. So I'm giving it a try. All right, but again, this comes back to, it's a question about who do you want to do business with, and do you want to try to find superior products, right? And put your money, right, or your stored energy, which is our currency or our money, into that stuff, right? So from my perspective, it comes back to the products, right? And that's why I wanted to talk about products first. But I would like to, you know, given that context, move into the business aspect of it. Because if somebody doesn't love the products, why would they want to push it or share it unless they're just a salesman, right? Trying to take care of themselves.
So, yeah, we can never really know what's in a person's heart, although we can speculate, and people who've been in MLMs and have come out have revealed
terrible
themselves,
stories about
and
it.
there's some,
Right.
and there's some, actually some of them have YouTube channels and they tell fascinating stories.
They do.
Is that you know, if I'm sure that some truly do think that their products, the most typical whipping boy these days, well, there's a couple whipping boys, and Monate shampoo is maybe getting whacked the hardest right now, because their shampoo, shall we say, doesn't agree with some people and it does with others, but there are people who swear by it. And
yeah,
they,
because we're all individuals.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So the advertising model, so to speak, is precisely the distributors are doing the advertising for the company. And do they have advertising departments? I don't know. I suspect they do. They are. I think that it's probably a safe assumption, based on no knowledge or evidence, that they are substantially smaller than, I would say, Monate's advertising department is probably substantially smaller than Clairol's. I just picked that out of there, like I know shampoo, because I don't. You know, duh.
Me too, brother.
I don't know crap
well,
about
I use it for this though.
I should, but I don't. Anyway, my sartorial problems are beyond the scope of this discussion. And I suspect that part of the reason why these companies appear to do as well as they do is precisely because they don't have to spend money on advertising. And
but they actually, yes, they can recoup those costs and either put it toward the bottom line or put it back into research and development for new product lines. And
in a way, you could say it's a brilliant solution.
I agree.
To a problem. It's a brilliant solution to sort of it's interesting. Jason in a recent video was mentioned, sort of steps. And if you've got a product and you want to sell it, you've got a thing and you want to sell it. I think one of the first things he mentioned that you really ought to do is like, where's your market and how do you get to
Who's
them?
your market? Yeah. What
Right?
problem are you solving and who's the market?
Who's the market and how do you get to them?
Exactly right.
And an MLM solves that problem.
Well, no, and I disagree with that.
Okay, tell me how.
An MLM, that's too broad of a stroke, right? So there may be a particular problem that can be solved by a particular MLM company. It depends on the person and what their problem is. You see, I think that's really what I wanted to get after concerning the series on MLMs. There's lots of broad strokes, right, and where we haven't necessarily peeled back the onion all the way to analyze, what's going on with different companies, right? Because there's been bad experiences from it. People have gotten hurt by Ponzi scheme type MLMs, as well as the traditional, distributor model where that company is loading people and families up with products they have to flip and turn. I don't think that's a good model at all. It's as risky as probably starting a business on your own that doesn't have that sort of support structure. And then I would argue, like Jason says a lot, it's as risky as having a job too, because you don't own a job either.
I agree. Right. We're starting to see this less and less. I'm not sure if LuLaRoe, the leggings people, or Paparazzi, the jewelry people, are still requiring people to have inventory in their house, which they could then sell. I think we're starting to see less and less. It's
as we should.
It's an enormously risky
proposition. Absolutely agree.
And I agree with that. Where I think some people may be missing out, and they don't realize they are, is from the failure to keep good accounts of how much money that there is coming to them from the sale of these products and how much they're spending.
Sure. So let's drop anchor on that real quick, right?
Yeah, good. I think we should.
Again, it comes back to, are we talking product discussion or are we talking business discussion, right? Or are we talking both at the same time? So because somebody doesn't need to be buying a product line because they're looking to make money off of it. That expense is going to happen regardless of you're buying it from an MLM or corporate America or John and Pop down the street who got it off of Amazon.
Bingo.
Right.
So
again, it comes back to what's the framing, what's the context?
Right. That is exactly where this gets murky, and where I think in many cases the discussion really has to end. I'm going to this discussion that I'm having on Friday with a distributor from Juice Plus, in her company, by the way, for 16 years, is does she consider the purchase of these, it's a supplement company, the purchase of these supplements as a business expense? And I'm guessing the answer is going to be no, and precisely for what you say. So I was going to buy this stuff anyway.
It depends. Is she consuming that for her own personal use in her home, or is she using it as gifts to let people experience the product line?
Yeah, that's right.
It could be both, right?
Could be both.
Jason's introduction of one of the members' barbecue sauce lines comes to mind right now. Right. I'm sure that individual is charging a premium for his product lines because, one, he doesn't have the scale that Kraft or some of these others might have for their barbecue sauces. And then two, it's specially made. Right. Think of this. Maybe this gentleman decides that, hey, I want my customer base to market my product for me in the future. They don't sell cases of product to their customers, but they individually distribute the barbecue sauce from the manufacturing facility to the customer's doorstep. And say Jason told all of this network about that guy's product, and then Jason would get a cut off of that sell. Is Jason in an MLM or is he not?
I would be, I think this is Danny Hudson, by the way, shout out. I'd be guy's working so hard. He's probably not watching this. And I've been remiss because I haven't bought his hot sauce yet, but I want to, and I do want to support the the guys on this network who are doing good work. Danny absolutely could have his distributors recruit other distributors to sell and incentivize them to do so.
He doesn't. No. We got off track with that. He's not he doesn't have other distributors. He is.
No, he could. No, I'm saying he doesn't. He could. Like could I don't even remember.
Yeah, but that gets to the heart of the matter. Mm-hmm. If he did recruit others to be distributors, he's in the MLM category, in my opinion. If he doesn't, if he maintains the distribution and he's only, in this case, giving Jason a cut off of the referral that Jason sent out, is that different?
Yeah, well,
Jason's not a distributor. Jason just marketed the brand on behalf of Danny, and Danny's going to give him a cut of the sale because of that.
Yeah, I think we could be talking about an affiliate type deal.
It's an affiliate type situation. That's exactly right.
Unless Jason is actually, sort of selling a kind of an advertising deal.
But so for advertising, you purchase, right? You purchase airwaves in order to get a market in front of somebody. In this case, Jason only referred this entire network of 2,000 people to Danny's hot sauce. Right. If there was an agreement between Jason and Danny that Jason Danny would give Jason a 10% cut of any sales coming through Jason, that Danny's shipping straight to all of those customers, not giving Jason a stock to flip, but just the marketing aspect. Is that MLM or is it not? That's the heart of the question, or the heart of the matter that I'm trying to understand concerning an MLM type business model.
I'm sorry for sharing the screen. We can come back to this, but
no, we can. That's
because it's bad. It's bad videography. So it's not. And I could explain why, because I have a working definition.
I would love to hear it.
And I didn't make it up. I got it from Robert Fitzpatrick.
Why is Robert Fitzpatrick the end all be all in the definition though?
It's been a professional interest of him. He's written a book.
Okay.
Called Ponzi-nomics.
Okay.
The one he wrote before that is False Prophets with an F, not a PH, and has been studying this for. It's an interesting story. I won't rehearse the whole thing about how he got into it. He had worked with the late John M. Taylor, Taylor. Fitzpatrick, by the way, he's got it's all one word, but the P is capitalized in the middle of Fitzpatrick. And John M. Taylor is famous for having done an academic style study, and his one error was that he didn't publish it in the scholarly journals. He submitted it as a letter to the FTC. And now everybody says that this was an FTC study. It was not. It was an academic study done by John M. Taylor, who was a colleague of Robert Fitzpatrick. They've been studying this for a long time.
Okay.
There are 4 elements.
Yep.
Of a multi-level marketing company.
And you covered these in a number of your videos in the series.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'll then repeat them really quickly. The overall business model is the endless chain. In other words, the way that it's sold essentially is that one person recruits another person who recruits another person who recruits another person. Another feature is pay to play. In other words, you cannot participate in this distribution chain if you don't buy a product regularly. The third feature is that the commission structure is such that the only way to make a substantial amount of money is to recruit a downline. And then finally, there's this issue which I think I had some difficulty explaining to you before, because it's not provable truly, which is extreme money transfer, which is that you imagine $1 is spent at the level of the retailer, and that 70 cents of that dollar is sent directly to either headquarters or to the top layers of the distribution. And there's only one income disclosure statement that I've seen, which I could try to call up and get here, which actually amazingly showed this. They actually showed what percentage of all the dollars goes where, which I thought was this was Juice Plus, which I thought was a shocking admission, and they might have thought better about having done this because it validated the extreme money transfer type thing. But I don't want to get
So how's that? But how's that different than what corporate America is doing?
So the truth is, I don't know. I don't know where 70 cents of every dollar that I spend on, for instance, I bought some cheap. Go ahead.
But do you care?
Yeah, I don't care.
Right. So it comes back to the products and what the individual needs and thinks is best for them.
Right. So you're right. So I put number 4 in because Fitzpatrick put number 4 in there, but I think it's the first 3 that are distinguishing features, and even those things by themselves are not problematic. What's problematic is transparency. If somebody wants to go to work for to sell Juice Plus, and I've actually talked to a couple distributors who who I'm not going to record interviews on, who are true believers and sincere advocates. I don't have any problem with that. What I have a problem with is deception. And
I agree. I do too.
Deceiving people about what the opportunity is. If you show somebody an income disclosure plan and say to them, in fact, to join Young Living essential oils, the policies and procedures state that you must show the IDS, the income disclosure statement, to a potential recruit. Maybe this even happens. This is the reason why I think this whole effort that's going on with the FTC now to change the business opportunity rule, stating that you must have an income disclosure statement, you must explain it to people, is not going to solve the problem, because people are reading these things and they don't care. Right. If you show them the income disclosure statement, and you say, look, 1% or less than 1% of this company is going to make a substantial amount of money, and the rest of you are not. And in fact, you might lose money.
Just like in corporate America, though.
How so?
The executives, compare the 200x salaries that the top executives are making in corporate America compared to the workforce, whose wages are not keeping up with inflationary pressures and price increases. You see, there's always another side of this argument that those that are in the MLM space keep focusing on how bad the MLM is without comparing it to the alternative.
Here's the but there is a comparison. Here's the difference between the stock boy at Walmart and the CEO. The stock boy is getting the stock boy is getting an hourly.
He is. That's not helping him maintain his standard of living.
It's true. An MLM distributor is a commission only 1099 contractor.
Agreed.
Who can be fired for any reason or no reason at all at any time.
That can't happen with the stock boy.
The likelihood that they're going to succeed is exceedingly small. I would rather look. I think these minimum wage jobs are lousy alternatives, but for a lot of people, if you've got no other way to get your foot in the door, at least you're getting minimum wage. If my concern is that there's so many distributors in MLMs, and like you say, some are definitely worse than others, who are being lied to, and they're not even getting minimum wage. I have had there are a couple of testimonies that I've listened to recently where these poor people actually did go back and do the calculation and found for the hours that they were working, they didn't make minimum wage. They made far less than minimum wage. They were making pennies per hour. It gave me a stomach ache to even listen to it.
Yeah, I don't argue that, but I wonder why. Is it they're unable to sell those products because they don't believe in them and they entered into that MLM to generate cash flow? Or on the other hand, where somebody actually, believes and enjoys and loves the products that they're using, and then they are seeking out others who have problems that those product lines might be able to solve. And then on top of that, there's also an income opportunity if those problems do get solved. I'm trying to find the downside to that business model where the person is not a distributor. They're only marketing the brand and the product lines.
When you got to go look at the income disclosure statements. There are people and I'm not just talking ever, the counter argument that's made by MLMers is that the people at the bottom, in the bottom ranks, which by definition must always be the majority,
Absolutely.
are
Yeah,
not,
yeah.
there isn't any, it cannot be otherwise. Are only there to get the discount. I say, okay, my counter argument would be, all right, ignore that layer. Let's go a couple layers deep,
Okay.
where it cannot be argued that these people are in it for just the discount. They're in it because they want to make some money, and they're not. There are some of the largest MLM income disclosure statements are frankly embarrassing. I'm grateful that they publish them. But if someone is going to become a distributor for Juice Plus, Young Living, Herbalife, any of these that publish an income disclosure, then and end up regretting it, that's on them. They knew what they were getting into. Should
Agreed.
have,
Just like
it was
the stock boy at Walmart getting paid minimum wage knows what they're getting into.
That's right. At least he's getting paid, and he knows,
Maybe.
and he sees he's getting.
Yeah, maybe. But again,
he has to. He's contractually obligated. He's contractually obligated to get away.
But we're still leaving out an important aspect of this: the purchasing power of that wage in this economic environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very
right.
cool.
So he's losing big time if that's his only job.
And my argument that is to the extent that he's got skills, knowledge, and experience, he ought to try his hand at something else, like improving his stock of improving his skill set, and going
Agreed.
out and going out and grinding. I hope so.
And some of these private companies can offer a platform and a structure in order to upskill as well. Some are bad for you. Others, perhaps they aren't.
Like, elaborate a little bit on that, because that's an angle I hadn't heard before.
The only experience I can speak to is the one I've got right now.
And how are they? So, okay, so what? Well, let's talk about. I mean, that's the only one you should talk about, because
I don't want the audience to perceive me as trying to convince them this is the greatest
mm-hmm.
thing since sliced bread. Maybe it's not. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm completely wrong on it. Mm-hmm. Based on my experience and what I've learned, the probabilities are in my favor that I'm right on this.
Which is so. Are you talking about?
So
you can speak about it sort of qualitatively, like what is the type of stuff that benefits that have accrued to you that could be useful.
So I'll just spell it out. This is not a sales pitch for the company that I joined over a year ago. Mm-hmm. That I began actively reaching out to people to figure out what their problems are today, whether or not it's with their health and fitness condition, or if it's financial. Mm-hmm. What matters is the fact that I'm trying to help people solve problems. Okay. So Melaleuca's business model, which is kind of the catalyst for this call, based off the MLM series that you've been doing, Rob, mm-hmm. is, as I described earlier, in comparison, Jason and the hot sauce brand, right? Mm-hmm. Jason marketing his hot sauce brand to the Nomad network. And then if the case was that they had an agreement where any sales that came from Jason's mentioning of his brand, Jason would get a cut off of that, kind of like he does with his other advertising streams for companies. That's a unique business model to where not only is a customer getting a product that they both enjoy and use and believe in, that's going to make it easier for them to market to other people that are in the markets for hot sauce. That additional option of generating cash flow exists as well. It's not the primary goal, but it's an option that exists right now. With Melaleuca, that's their business model. The distributor is out of Idaho Falls in Tennessee, owned by the corporate company, right? The private company that is Melaleuca, and they've got a whole army of marketing people that are product consumers as well. Now, with respect to the upskilling, right? They start out from the very beginning, and this is me going back a year and then finally seeing the light just a few weeks ago. Okay, I just pivoted to this a few weeks ago and actually made it a bolt-on or a cornerstone of my Liberty Accelerator program, because I believe that they offer a solution for my market that they're not going to get anywhere else. If they need the products that Melaleuca has. If they don't need the products, the so-called business side is a mute discussion, because you're not going to have any believability marked in something that you're not using and you're not believing in. Which, pivoting back to like corporate America, there's all kinds of salesmen to our corporate America that don't use the products they sell. What does that mean? Right. So with respect to Melaleuca, they offer a large content library that talks about the science they claim backs their products, that makes them superior. Okay. They also offer the relationship training and focus on how important relationships are, right? In order to live a good life, in order to figure out what people's problems are, so they open up to you, right? So you can, say, hey, well, Melaleuca offers this as compared to what you're getting from Amazon. You might give it a try. Yeah, okay, maybe it's a little bit more expensive, but you're getting X, Y, and Z for that little bit extra cost. Or it's the same price and we ship it straight to your doorstep. You don't have to depend on the supply chains to have it stocked on the shelf when you drive in, right? So not only do they offer this relationship training, this marketing and sales training that is crucial for not only job seekers, but for entrepreneurs as well. They also offer the structure of that back office support to where those are less variables that somebody that's new to entrepreneurship is having to figure out. So all of those things combined with my market, the armed forces, the military personnel and service members that are transitioning out of service, that are trying to find that higher calling or that bigger purpose. For me, the Melaleuca value proposition fits that to a T. Additionally, their compensation plan is structured just like the military pay scales, which means it's very familiar for them, for something that they could fall in on in order to help them, get on their feet if they're already in what I call that transition battle and leaving service. Or better yet, maybe they pivot their purchases from Amazon and the big box retailers and the on base stores to Melaleuca earlier on in their life, so that they're not only using and enjoying healthier, safer, more quality products, but they're also getting the experience of being with the company for years. And that way, whenever the transition ambush happens and they get kicked out of service, or their service time comes to an end unexpectedly, they've at least got something to pivot to in a community that is vibrant and good and trying to do good things for the world. Right now,
transition ambush. Go ahead.
maybe the wool's been pulled over my eyes and I'm a complete idiot and I just don't see what everybody else sees. But I think it's an opportunity worth consideration for the right family at the right time. So I'll pause there because I can go on and on about it, but that's kind of,
I would just say, rule number one is don't lose money. And rule number two is don't lose money.
But what does that mean?
Spend less than you make.
Yeah, but where's the abundance mindset in that statement?
It's, there is no abundance if you spend more than you make.
No, I agree with that. And we're getting into, that's Warren Buffett's, rules concerning investing. And is that the right thought to bring into this specific discussion about just where are you buying your products from?
Right.
That's all we're talking about. You're not, right, that's not necessarily an investment.
If I just don't want to spend more money in a business opportunity than I'm making from that business opportunity.
We left beyond the choice between who you're a customer of. Mm-hmm. That's why I wanted to start with the product lines and then get into the business aspect of it. And I agree with you. Claiming, any MLM claiming you own your own business, that's not true. It's just like a job. You don't own that job either. They shouldn't be saying it's your own business because it's not, right? You're falling in on a structure that has been put in place that can be lucrative if you learn how to market and,
do you have any idea why? Problems. Do you have any idea why they say that? Why do I don't know. Amway was the first bad actor, and everybody else followed suit. They called Amway calls their distributors independent business owners.
Yeah.
Why do they?
Melaleuca does not. We don't have distributors in Melaleuca, but Melaleuca does refer to it as a business in their in their literature. And I'm going to ask that question. I'm glad you brought it up, and I'm curious too, because no, it's not my business, right? I'm sharing a brand with people who mention problems that they've got, or I think Melaleuca might be a solution for that. It's not forcing it on anybody.
I think
right?
that's the
Nobody
right
wants to be
approach.
sold, but it's just it's an opportunity that's worth considering.
I think
And
it's
that's
absolutely
it.
the right approach is to dispense with deceptive language, which is what that is like. And I wish they wouldn't do it. The does Melaleuca still do a auto ship? Is there still an auto ship deal?
There is an auto
that-
ship in place.
That concerns
It's
me.
either, let me explain Melaleuca's real quick. It's
Yeah.
either a, a point, a 35 point minimum
Mhm.
that is assembled by them, or the customer can tailor their own to something that they need.
Mhm.
And again, I don't have the details behind it, or I haven't been able to pull the cover back from over why that is, but my assumption with my MBA background, as well as my limited knowledge in the business world,
Mhm.
is, unlike corporate America's business model, Melaleuca needs that consistent demand revenue stream in order to have the contracts in place with their suppliers in order to make the economics work. That's the only thing.
That's
that's
my supposition. That's that's
Me
what I
too.
suppose too, because I can't think of any other reason
right.
why they would approach it that way. So it's interesting. I didn't know about referring to. I will speculate as to why these business opportunities are referred to as businesses or run. This is your business, right?
Yeah.
Which is an untruth, as I think we agree.
We agree.
And then I think that there are some there's some portion of the population out there who is I think everybody's susceptible to what I refer to, and forgive me for getting weird, introducing a weird philosophical concept, which is called the literalization of a metaphor. So, for example, if you say a joke is sick, everybody knows what you mean. Well, by sick joke, obviously, it's not sick. But if you there's one school of thought that suggests that that minds can be sick, the way that jokes that how can a mind be sick, right? Minds aren't sick, brains can be sick, but a mind can be sick only the way a joke can be sick, as a metaphor. When you literalize the metaphor and say, okay, this mind is sick, and people start to believe it.
Yeah.
Okay, this person has a mental, we don't say brain illness, we say mental illness. All right, sorry. When you refer to this as a business opportunity, I think people begin to realize, in other words, to make real a metaphor. It's like a business, it's not. And so they feel as though they have ownership, like this is something that is theirs, that is absolutely not theirs. Right. And the downside of that is that I think that it causes them to invest time, energy, and sadly, money, and a lot of it in what they think is a bit, like they say, like for instance, analogy is given. It's like when you start a bit, when I started both my businesses, I invested money, not a great deal of money, but I invested money. They say, hey, everybody's got to invest money, and so do you too.
Yep.
And this feeds into this literalization of the realization of the metaphor, and it's dangerous.
Sure.
So again, I'm glad that we agree that that this is something that ought not to happen. Anyway, we should everybody, you've been very generous with your time, and I remember, I think I told you that I'm not wearing any hat right now to protect myself from the inevitable skin cancer that I'm going to get, but I am wearing two hats because I have two very different businesses, and one of them is calling me away right now. We agree on a great deal of this, and actually, I think I'm glad that we're having this conversation, because based on what you've told me and my my level of digging into Melaleuca, they're the only ones who I think are going to emerge from this latest iteration of the FTC scrutiny with clean hands. Because of the way that they've been conducting themselves.
And Rob, I would like to not end the discussion here. I would like to get back on so that you can actually do a deep dive on their so-called business side for their marketing executives, because I've looked at it a little bit, but I will never claim expertise in mathematics. And I think it would be a fruitful discussion for you to highlight some of the
All right.
things that I probably don't know if we could
I've
do
got
that.
homework now, and then maybe that'll keep me from from wasting my time doing watching skepticism videos. And I fall down all kinds of nutty. That means you can see I post it sometimes.
Okay.
Because scammers attack me all the time with stuff, and I just
Sure.
realized that they've always been doing it. And anyway, thank you so much. We've been on for like 50 minutes, and that's awesome.
We have.
I appreciate your spending all this time, but I got to go. And
Great.
I will upload this. This is going to take a long time, but I'm going to try to upload it today so that folks can see it and they can hear
Ask
your voice
questions.
and
You can
ask questions. And you're
Yeah.
you got some fascinating stuff going on, and I really wish that we could have talked about that, because that would have been a cheap and dirty way to let the nomads who don't know what it is that you do find out about it, and they should.
We can do that. We can do that later too.
We should.
No problem.
All right, man. I'm going to stop. I'm going to
Thanks, Rob.
stop recording right now. Okay.